Do you need to do an extra CT61 form? Let's find out today. Hi, I'm Kimberly Shapcott, qualified chartered accountant, property investor and entrepreneur. Let's sit down and have a chat. CT61s, what do you need to do? Well, check out the full video on CT61s on the channel, because that will tell you absolutely everything that you need to do. Today we're going to be covering the extra CT61, and you might be thinking, but I'm already doing them on a quarterly basis, what else is there to know? Well, if your year end is not in line with the calendar quarterlies, you have one more CT61 to do. So how it fits together with your CT61s is each calendar quarter, so March, June, September and December, you need to do a CT61 form. Basically, interest that you've paid to your investors and the tax that you've deducted, you need to tell HMRC and pay it over to them. If your year end is not one of those 4 months, you are now not in line with the CT61 year, which means you now have to do one extra CT61. And this is around your calendar quarter that your year end falls. So I'm just going to pick July as my year end that I'm going to use as my example today. And what this is my year end is the 31st of July, so it's not the 30th of June, it's not the 30th of September. So as well as my returns in June and in September, I also need to do a return from the 1st of July to the 31st of July, so that I've covered that period up to the year end. My September one will then cover my 1st of August through to the 30th of September. So it's just basically an extra return, which makes sure you're covering for each of the appropriate accounting periods as well as the normal calendar quarters. You may ask, is there anything special I need to do for this return? And the simple answer is no, there's nothing special you have to do with this return. It's just for a different period or a shorter period. So you still need to do it for the period under review. So for my example there, I've got to do it for the month of July. So if I've made any payments in that period, I will need to do a return for that period. It still needs to be done within 14 days of the end of the period, and it also needs to be done, payment needs to be made by that 14-day period as well. So there isn't anything particularly special, it is just an additional return. Now, if you've got nothing paid in that return, then as with all the other returns, there is nothing to report. So as you can see, it may be something extra to do, or it may be there's nothing to do, but it's just something that you need to be aware of to make sure you're complying with the rules of the regulations and sending in the returns as needed in the appropriate timeframes. This ultimately means anyone whose year end isn't calendar quarterly will always have the potential of 5 returns to submit. And the reason I say 5 returns is because it's only potential if you are making payments in those periods. If you're not making a payment in those periods, then there is no return to submit. At present, there is no penalties if you don't submit a return on time. However, I am very much going to say try and submit your returns on time, because there's always that possibility at any point that they may start sending out penalty notices for anyone that they think hasn't submitted something that they should be. For all the information you need to complete on your CT61, please do check out the full video on CT61, which explains the beginning, the end and everything you can think of to do with a CT61 form. As we all know with tax, there are these quirks, and this is just one of those quirks that you just potentially need to be aware of, especially if your year end isn't calendar quarterly. Hopefully today you've discovered why you may need to do an extra CT61 form to make it 5 instead of 4 returns each year. Please like the channel and do subscribe to the channel, and let's make tax less taxing. price tags